what's going on? What is going on, everyone? Is the microphone on? Welcome on this wonderful Wednesday to the Cold Calling Podcast. Once again, I'm Larry Long Jr., your host and CEO, that's Chief Energy Officer of LLJR Enterprises. I am so happy to be here with you today. Come on in, make yourself at home, get comfortable. If no one's told you so far today, I'm going to tell you, I believe that you're awesome. Just by showing up today, if you're live, if you're watching the recording, please know that you are awesome. As a reminder, the Cold Calling Podcast is powered by Monster Connect, leveraging technology and human resource to deliver actual conversations. Can you hear me now? In sales, we want to have those conversations. And especially for B2B sellers, looking at 8 to 12 conversations per hour. Whoa! Dynamite gets me excited. So, hey, we're here to sow into you, to speak into you, and to help you as a sales professional, as a sales leader, to up level and have continued success in sales. As we go through today's conversation, I got a good one. I encourage you to get your Twitter fingers ready. Any questions that come to mind, please feel free to use the chat function to ask our guest. Now, I'm honored to welcome today's guest. Without further ado, he's actually the director of sales for our sponsor, Monster Connect. He's a Boiler alum, Boiler up. Yeah, I see you, BG. And he hails from Indianapolis. Let's give a warm Cold Calling Podcast welcome to Brian Gerlach. What's going on, Brian?
Hey, what's up, man? I appreciate you. Appreciate you having me on here. I've been loving these podcasts every week, and grateful to be on here finally. And no, it's been fun to watch all these, and thank you to you too. I mean, you're infectious energy, man. You could, if someone's having a bad day, you just need to talk with you for 30 seconds, and it changes their outlook in a heartbeat. So appreciate you and all that you do for the sales community as well.
Man, it takes one to know one. I'm honored to have you. Thank you so much for all that you do, for taking the time to share some wisdom. Now, I like to get started just for our listeners. And you and I, we've had the chance to chat before, Brian. You've been so instrumental in getting me on boarded. I appreciate it. And I want you to share the who, the what, and the how. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you do it? Actually, the how and the why. How do you do it, and why do you do it?
Yeah. So Brian Gerlach, here in, like you mentioned, here in Indianapolis. I'm a husband, dad, 3 little princesses. Got 3 daughters here. Got some props like you, but they're all pink and purple here around this house. I don't got much blue or anything. I got all pink. So yeah, there you go. I ain't got any of those. I got all pink ones. But here in Indy, and director of sales for Monster Connect, been here going on about 10 years now. And I think why I do it, I've always had a passion for people and for helping people out. And I truly do believe in our product. I'm not trying to be biased or trying to, just do some shameless plug, but I truly do believe in our product and the value that it helps sales reps and the sales community. And I think that it's, it's something that I'm passionate about and relatable too. Being in sales, going on 15 years now, I started in sales, probably a lot of people, homegrown CRM of Excel spreadsheet and Google Voice, so if I would have known about a technology like this, I would have been a number one advocate, because I wouldn't have been able to go without it. And so again, biased obviously, but I think the passion behind it and seeing the value and the relatability, I think is why I do what I do.
Oh, I love that. Family man, father, daughters, active in community, passion for people. We're in the right place, in the right space, at the right time. Now, I know we're going to get real on mastering competition without throwing shade. I know we're going to get into some of the secrets to how you can champion your brand with integrity. But I call this spill the tea. I saw you sipping your tea over there. I'll go ahead and get a little comfortable right now. I understand you're an author. I did a little bit of research. You are
Yeah.
an author. Congratulations. If you don't mind, let's give everyone that's watching live, as well as those that are watching the pre-recording, share about Generation L. I think that might be the next generation of leaders. Do tell.
You nailed it. Yep. So it's been a few years since I wrote that, but so back in 17, I had on my heart to write this book, and I think this upcoming generation of leaders is impactful. We're going to see a big shift here. We're already seeing it, right? A lot of in the buying process, decision makers are that young millennial age group, and I think there's a big need for these new set of leaders. And a lot of times just leadership principles they aren't complicated, but it's just being reminded of some of these principles. And that's why I focus on that book. It's I call it the power of an hour because it's you can read the book in about an hour. And this generation, I did that because everyone wants things quick, right? Microwave, but with want crock pot results, but with microwave effort. And so I think that I did write a short book to be able to condense everything in it, and it just gives basic principles of leadership principles, and no matter where you're at in your in your journey. So whether you're just kicking things off, or if you are a leader and raising up this next generation, I think it does put good perspectives and good principles into just doing the simple things.
Wow, 2017, next generation, leadership principles, the power of an hour. I've never heard that before. People wanting crock pot results on a microwave timing. We do want things right now.
Quick. Yep.
I love that. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes since we're talking about crock pot results. I want to know all about Monster Connect. And my first question really is it's around first impressions mattering. So when you're approaching a potential client, customer who's looking at other options, including your competitors, what's your strategy? How are you and your team positioning MC? We'll call it MC for short, Monster Connect's offerings without negatively referencing the competition? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think it's I think staying in your own lane. I think sometimes too many people, they spend their time highlighting the negatives of your competition while forgetting to focus on highlighting and providing the value for what you do. Because you can't control what they do. You can control what you do, though. And so I think that's a big key, is that having that integrity too. I think having integrity, within the sales process is super important. And I think being able to, just focus on your value, like I said. And I think that, when you have that integrity, you build that trust, and people buy from people that they like and that trust. I think that they, that's a metric that you can't really have ROI on it of being a good person. But I think that and building that trust, but I think that makes a world of a difference. And so, when you have that trustworthiness, that's going to lay that foundation down. And being able to, even whenever I talk with prospects, right? If they say, hey, I'm looking at some other competitors, and if I ask, hey, you don't mind, I can provide some, fair differentiators, comparisons. If they say, hey, I'd rather not say, I'll come out and I'll say all the competitors' names, because I think that's important, because you're not trying to hide anything from them. And so I think if you can be transparent, you can build that foundation of trustworthiness, and just focus on your value while just being able to, compare some differentiators and comparisons. That's what the buyer wants. They don't want to feel any negativity. They just want to feel, they can be in a safe space with you.
That's right. I love that. Staying in your own lane, staying focused and highlighting the value of what you do. Now, I would be remiss, Brian. We haven't shared with the folks, other than my little intro, what is the value of Monster Connect? What does Monster Connect do?
Yeah. I mean, by that intro, you might be on the sales team. You got a good one there. So yeah, what we do, you nailed it. We have a dialing technology that's backed by humans. And so at the simplest level, every time a sales rep logs into Monster Connect, they're having around 8 to 12 live conversations with actual decision makers or your targeted prospects who you're trying to get a hold of. And so we do that by leveraging technology and by humans. And so, we have a pool of agents who's dialing on the back end and doing all the lead work that that technology alone can't do. So we're navigating the phone trees, extensions, voicemails. We're interacting with admins, gatekeepers, and as soon as you get connected to a prospect, or we get connected to a prospect, instantaneously connects over to the sales rep as if they had placed that call. Salespeople, they just want to talk with the right people, right? They don't want to do any of the lead work to get them on the phone. So that's where we come in and play. We absorb all the lead work to get them on the phone.
Wow. Now, Brian, I'm going to do something that I actually do too often. You're not supposed to do, but I'm going to double up. I'm going to stack my questions because my mind, what you just shared with me, my mind is still blown trying to understand and wrap my head around how your technology backed by humans is able to do this. So question number one.
Yep.
How do you measure success when you're working with clients? What is that measurement of success? And number two, I just want to know, what are the top challenges that you're hearing? What are some of those barriers and mountains that folks are facing when it comes to cold calling today? And I guess I'll triple up. How are you addressing that with Monster Connect?
Yeah, I think that how we measure is things going back to what we can control, right? We can control dials and conversations. Sometimes folks, we obviously love to see success with appointments booked because that's the end goal. But we can't necessarily control that, right? But we can provide all the value, the resources to give that sales rep as many at bats as we can. And so that's what we do. And so, that's the biggest measurement are the dials and the connections. I think that, in terms of how they measure it, their clients are going to be measuring it by that too. Dials are great, but conversations are truly what matter. And so I think that, being able to have good quality conversations with the correct prospects, that makes a world of a difference. And I think some challenges that we help address are really just people don't pick up the phones these days, as much as what they used to. And there's a lot of different ways that, people are the barrier of coming up as potential spam or, all this stuff on cell phones that are coming up. And there's admins and gatekeepers and everything that really prohibits you get on the phone. And so going back to what I was saying earlier, that's where we absorb all that lead work. And so our team, it's almost like you're purchasing time when you use us, right? Because you're getting that time back of that you're able to spend your time actually selling versus spending the time on the phone, phone prospecting. And so I think those are the big challenges that we help overcome is the, people just aren't picking up the phones. So the volume that we're able to do, while also not, diminishing on quality because we're connecting over. So we increase the quantity and also maintain the quality by connecting over to the correct folks.
Man, that is powerful. That's a dream come true. I can remember. You're giving me flashbacks, Brian. I used to make 150 cold calls every day to accounting firms. And I cannot tell you how many voicemails, how many front desk, AKA gatekeepers we were speaking with. And you nailed it when you said the number of conversations with that target prospect. Oh, goodness. I'm looking at my watch just thinking of all the time that I wasted not having those legitimate conversations. So I appreciate you sharing that. I love how you position it of giving people time back that's valuable. Now I'm spending my time on those revenue generating conversations instead of trying to navigate phone trees and, oh my goodness, trying to stick and move to make my way through to find that person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like you said, that's where going kind of circling back to what I was saying in the beginning, it's, I'm same thing, my goal every day when I was, before prior Monster Connect was 200 calls a day, and I would have an Excel spreadsheet, color code it, I'd be able to copy and paste the number in the Google Voice and just doing one at a time. And so, like I said, if I could go back in time and be able to have a tool like this, it'd be a game changer for sure.
Oh, I love it. Now, you had talked about before integrity, especially when dealing with competition. Now, I'm thinking with direct competitors, when you have clients that are comparing or prospects that are comparing Monster Connect to one of those competitors that you're reading off, what's your strategy for navigating that conversation? How do you highlight the strengths of Monster Connect without resorting to bashing the client? Because that's a delicate balance to think about. How do I position us well without trashing or beating up the competition? I know we want to beat the competition, but we don't want to beat them up.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, it's a good question. Yeah, I think that the big piece is it's okay to highlight your competitor's strengths too, because you aren't going to bat 1,000. I mean, the likely you aren't going to close every single deal. There's going to be instances to where someone's just better than what you in certain area, or they do something different than what you might do, and it relates to that prospect specific need, right? And so I think this goes across all, not just Monster Connect, but any sales your reps out there, is that know your competitor and know what they do well, and a lot of what they don't do well. And so, or where you can do better, because there might be one area that you can highlight, hey, they do very well in XYZ, and find out what's important to that prospect, and that if that XYZ is important to that prospect, then I think it's okay to say, hey, they do a really good job at this. This is where we shine. This is where we can help out. And it's okay to just, I think transparency goes a long way, and just being able to know the strengths and weaknesses of you and of your competitor.
Wow. So having that knowledge, that market intelligence, and understanding where you play well and where they play well. And it's okay to be honest, to be open, to be transparent. You also mentioned the power of discovery, of understanding what are the problems that prospects are trying to solve for. What are those things that are most important to them, so that you can figure out where is that fit, if there is a fit.
Right.
I love that, man. And I got to tell you, Brian, just from the bottom of my heart, we need more of that in sales, because I see it, I hear it, where folks, I can't sugarcoat it. I would say they stretch the truth, but no, they lie.
They do.
Lie. Just blatantly lie. And there's right and there's wrong. And what I'm hearing loud and clear is that you're doing what's right. I think they call that integrity without compromise. You're doing what's right, even when no one is watching.
Yeah. And I think that makes it, and even if you don't earn the business, that's going to make a big difference for the long lasting relationship. I mean, hey, you can even point them plenty of times, right, to where I pointed someone in a different direction and they became a client, maybe a year or two down the road, because you build that relation. They may not be ready for you now, but they might be ready for you here in a couple of years. And so I think just being good, solid principles, off the court and on the court make a difference. You just be a good human being on and off, and it's gonna shine through the sales process. Sales really isn't that difficult. It's being helping provide that prospect, walking through the journey, providing value, and I think that if you do those two things, then it's not that difficult.
Man, Brian, I rock this shirt for you. In addition to our viewers and our listeners, you are truly awesome. Now, I want to know, because I've heard the chatter, and I continue to hear the chatter. Death of the cold call. Cold calling is dead. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know if there's a doctor in the house, but
Yeah.
I believe that we need to revive it. But we don't need to revive it if it's not dead.
Yeah.
How does Monster Connect fit into this narrative? What's your take and your perspective? Is cold calling dead?
Yeah, I think that's yeah. You hear it all the time, right? People like to blog about it, post about it. I would argue that manual efforts are dead. Because I think that it could say. I would argue the same thing for emails, anything. But phone's never going away. If I were to tell you, Larry, if I'd say, hey, would you rather right now I can connect you with a prospect or on the phone, or I can send you an email from the prospect that say, hey, let's set up a phone call for next week. What would you choose? My guess is 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 out of 10 times, you'd say, hey, get me on the phone right now. And so phone's never going away. I think that when people say death to cold calling's dead, I think it's the old way of cold calling, picking up that phone, going to Google Voice, copy and paste, doing the old school way, but with tools like Monster Connect, to where we help eliminate a lot of those barriers of the painfulness of phone prospecting. Phone's not going away.
Ooh, I love that. Manual efforts are dead. That's fake news. Those people that are talking about cold calling is dead. Cold calling the way it used to be done.
Yeah.
I guess they say your grandmom's and your grandfather's way of cold calling. That might be dead. But hey, the new wave, the new generation, not just of leaderships, as your book says, but the new generation of cold calling is being able to leverage technology, being able to leverage human resource. This came off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on Chat GPT, I am robot? Or are y'all implementing any kind of AI in the MC platform?
Yeah, I think that, yes, technology, AI, I think that you always got to try to adapt, right? I think that in a business and sales with everything, you're always trying to adapt. I don't think that, this is my own personal belief, I don't believe that AI is going to replace salespeople like they're saying. I think I think there might be some, you can leverage AI in certain parts of the sales process, being able to, from like a prospecting or just information gathering. But I don't believe that, people are always going to want to buy from people, and they're not going to want to buy from an actual bot or robot or AI. I think that, like I said, I think that, yes, you'd be silly not to leverage AI in certain parts of your company, your business, your sales process. But I don't believe or foresee, salespeople being replaced by ChatGPT.
So you're telling me I don't need to worry about my job safety and security?
Yeah. You don't need to start swinging again, hitting the batting cages. You're good.
But I may need to watch out for those sales professionals and sales leaders that are leveraging that technology that's at their fingertips so that they can get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that, like I said, I think it would be silly not to, use AI and the technology that's it's advancing, into your systems.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, I want to talk about a success. Specifically, can you share a success story? I want to hear that example of a client that was able to benefit and had significant impact from using Monster Connect. Give me that story.
Yeah. The one that comes off the top of my head is a pretty strong case study. Now, this is not the norm, right? Because it's not, I'm not going to say this happens every single time, but just an example of what I think that, a lot of our clients see in their own regards, right? So a couple of years ago, I can remember a client who, sales rep, he was on for an hour. Almost, he tells the story, hey, a couple minutes before signing off, and boom, gets connected to I believe a CEO of a large company who had a need, right? And so it ended up being a $14 million deal and 3.5 times his annual quota that he got from that one conversation. And so, like I said, that's not the norm, right? It's not, I'm not saying, I'm not advocating, hey, use Monster Connect, you'll be $14 million deals. But what we do is help. It's all about timing, right? And so we help get in front of people that you won't typically have gotten, and being able to just help with the timing of connecting. And so, I mean, if you can get someone on the phone and it's the right timing, there's a need, and there's the values there, who wouldn't take that meeting, And so circling back to cold calling's dead, same as that thing, you get someone on the phone and there's a need and you have something that can help them out, they're going to take that call all day.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is that when we purchase Monster Connect, we're guaranteed to close 14 million. I'm just kidding. We do not want to put that out there.
Yeah.
I love that story. And I love how you mentioned timing is everything. That time of connection, your time as a sales professional, the ease of use, the efficiency. Woo! I absolutely love it, love it, love it. Now, I want to understand, how can we learn? I'm trying to be an industry leader. Mm-hmm. And I want to know, are there any lessons, are there any insights that we can learn from the competitive environment? When we look at our competitors, how can we use that knowledge? You touched a little bit about it, but I want to dig in just a little bit deeper. How can we leverage that knowledge that we're learning about our competitors and use it to our advantage without compromising our integrity?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just always be building. I mean, just building your storehouse of facts up in your head, right? And just always continuing to never let your guard down, and just always knowing, what's going out there in the industry and the trends, reading on things. I think taking a conscious effort of feedback that you hear with prospects, having a little journal down of everything that someone's saying about a competitor, good or bad, and just continuing just to fill that knowledge. And so whenever you do talk to a prospect, you aren't just guessing or trying to throw something out there that you think might happen. You're actually gathering real information that you've heard, and you can position it to say, hey, this is what, I don't know what they do. They might have a great technology, but I can tell you what, prospects are telling me, or what clients are telling me that have made that switch from them to us. And so now you can gather all the information, and then you can use it at your disposal, right? So you're not going to use it, you're not going to throw everything at them, but if they're, if you can hear some of their needs, I think the biggest thing is proactively addressing some of those. So when you're letting that prospect talk and you can proactively try to tell what they're going through by, the competitor, what they're with or looking at, then that's value. That's nothing more valuable than proactive and being able to highlight things before your prospect even shares them with you.
Wow, that's strong right there. Building up those stories, staying up to date on industry news, journaling, documenting prospect thoughts on competitors, proactively reaching out to address some of those problems that folks are facing. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, what are some of the specific industries, kind of service lines, sectors where Monster Connect really shines, really provides an opportunity at that 14 million? I'm trying to find that $14 million conversation. Are there any specific industries or verticals that you're seeing that you play really, really nicely in?
Yeah, I would say so. B2B, primarily, clients aren't really calling into, the consumer segment. I think that I would say majority of our clients are having around a 3 to 6 month sales cycle, right? They're not trying to just one call close them. What they use our tool for is to help generate more conversations, which inevitably are going to generate more meetings booked, and then generate more opportunities, more revenue. And so, I think that, those are the big common denominators. From an industry standpoint, we work across all industries. I would say majority of our clients are technology software. We have a miscellaneous B2B, commercial real estate, banking, just different logistics, things like that, to where at the end of the day, if they have a sales team that is actively phone prospecting, we're not changing their process, right? We're coming alongside them and providing a tool to help them be more efficient.
Oh, that's strong right there. I like the sounds. Generate more leads, more meetings, and more business. Hey, you're talking my language right there, BG. Ooh, wee. I want to know what's some of the feedback? What's some of the, as you think about the pulse, what are you hearing from sales professionals, sales leaders, organizations that have invested in and are using Monster Connect? What's the feedback like? What are they telling you when you ask them for feedback?
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of our, that's how Monster Connect has grown. The features and the integrations, how we grow is really based on client feedback. And so typically what we see is that, hey, if a sales rep or a leader, if they have some sort of feedback, most of the time it's going to be applicable, for not just themselves, but for a wide variety of other clients. And two, I mean, hey, a lot of we face our own problems too as a sales org, right? And so we're not just creating different things that, we drink our own Kool-Aid, so we use our tool on a daily basis. So we're in the trenches too, so we see a lot of the things that we're experiencing, and then we'll proactively too reach out to clients to see, hey, what feedback do they have, good, bad, any type of improvements we can make, or areas that they'd like to see changed. And that's really how Monster Connect continues to grow and pump out new features and new products, is really just listening to our clients and the feedback.
Wow, that's strong. That is strong right there. Now, it sounds like you got a great pulse on what's going on within the industry. And we already talked about robot, Chat GPT. What are some of the other emerging trends that you're either hearing, you're seeing, you're expecting? What are some of those trends that you expect to see in sales, in the industry of sales, and in cold calling in the near future? What should we be ready for?
Yeah, I think automation is going to continue to grow. I think that in all aspects, I think that a trend that we've been seeing too is like prospects who you can identify are picking up the phone, right? Because people just don't pick up the phones these days, but there are a certain amount that it doesn't matter who it is, they're always picking up the call, and they're picking up their phone. And so I think that that's a big trend that has been kind of coming out, and especially if someone can use that type of information in a tool like ours, then you're going to see a higher quality too of connections, because you're going to know that, hey, these people are not only good phone numbers, but they're also more likely going to pick up their phone. So I think it's a trend that that's kind of been hot in the past little while that we've been seeing. But yeah, I think automation is going to continue to grow, AI continue to grow, and just being able to help sales teams be more efficient. I think that efficiency is going to be key, and doing more with less. And so I think the more a company can focus on that, the better off that they're going to be.
Wow, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, I'm thinking about brand image, and specifically not necessarily personal brand, but from a company perspective. Monster Connect's brand image. I love your approach on value. I love your approach on integrity. I love how you avoid negative tactics. What impact do you think that's had out in the market? That just core fundamental approach of being prospect, client, customer centric, you've got that centricity on them and not on you. It's more of outward focus versus inward focus. What impact do you think that's had on building the Monster Connect brand?
Yeah, I think that the positive thing about that is that it attracts who you want to do business with,
Yep.
because if I look at all of our clients, I mean, you hear horror stories, right, of clients that are just tough to deal with. I mean, we have great clients. All of our clients are, I mean, hundreds of clients that we have, they're great clients, and so I think that attracts it, right? And because we strive ourselves, from our CEO down, he says, hey, be the best company to work for and the best company to work with. And I think those are two things right there. So not only from an employee standpoint, but also how we provide value to our clients. And so if we can come in, kind of what we were saying earlier, do what you can control, right? And so if you can be able to just control how you treat your clients from the moment that first phone call all the way until they sign a contract and afterwards, it affects the retention too, because if it's one thing we're just talking about the other day in a team meeting was, having the buying process not have any friction, trying to have no friction in the buying process. And so if you can be able to provide a frictionless buying experience for a prospect, that's what they want. They don't want to be able to, have that chaos, and that chaotic buying process and stressful buying process. If it can be a peaceful buying process, then you're going to attract the right clients you want to do business with, and you're going to retain them as well.
Oh, I love it. The frictionless buying experience. I know there's some friction filled buying experience, and that's not good for anyone that wants that. Now, speaking of good, and you're managing the team, you're leading the team. I'm curious around two things. The first one is calendar. We know how important it is to manage time and productivity. What are some suggestions that you give for folks where cold calls are a major part of the role? How do I manage my time, my calendar, my productivity?
Yeah, I think that's you nailed it. The answer I would say is calendar, right? And anything that's important you do is on your calendar. So I would say I would compare it to like going to the gym. So I mean, if you want to see success in what you're doing in the phone prospecting, it would be like comparing it to going to the gym. If you don't proactively mark off your days or your times that you're going to be going to the gym, you're more likely not going to go to the gym, and same thing. And a lot of people get discouraged, caught in working out within the first couple of weeks because they're not seeing results. But those who continue to do it consistently each and every day, and week in, week out, 6, 9, 12 months down the road, you're going to see those results. And that's the same thing with phone prospecting, right? And being able to be consistent. If you consistently put it on your calendar to do it, and you're going to see those results. You may not see it initially, but effort will always drive results. And so as you continue to put in the work, you're going to see the results sooner or later.
Oh, I love that. That dedication, that consistency, leveraging the calendar. If it's important, putting it on the calendar. Now, that's a lot. And I know it's simple. These are simple, basic core fundamentals, but my head is spinning, Brian. I'm getting a migraine. What are your recommendations on how cold callers can manage stress and anxiety? I remember back, not only just when I made 150 calls, but I led a team that was making 150 calls.
Yeah.
Call reluctance to picking up. This is my banana phone, but it's 500 pounds. How do you recommend I deal with the stresses and the strains of picking up this phone and smiling and dialing?
Yeah. Yeah, I know I said this a couple of times, but I put what you can do in control, or manage what you can control, because you can't control the outcomes, right? You can't control if someone's going to book a meeting or not. You can't control that. But what you can control is the effort that you put into it. And so I think that what I would recommend is set a benchmark for something other than meetings booked. So if you are, and the meetings will come. So say, going back to your example, say if you were saying, hey, I'm going to make 150 calls today. Well, let that be your benchmark. Do every single thing that you can do to make those 150 calls. If a meeting comes, great. If it doesn't come, you can lay your head at night and know, hey, I did everything that I could do to get those meetings. And so if you consistently do that, consistently set benchmarks into things that you can control, I believe the meetings will continue to come, and you'll continue to better, continue to grow, grow yourself, invest in yourself, continue to learn from others. I think those are big things. Listening to things, listen back to your own call recordings, seeing, how what you're saying right, what you could have done better. And, I think those are all big things to really just focus on what you can control.
Oh, that's some sage advice right there. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to save some time at the end where you're going to hop on the phone. You're going to make some calls. I'm going to do the same. Is that right?
Yeah, we can do it. Yeah, we can take a couple of calls. We got time. We can take some cold calls.
We're going to make time. We're at 1:41 Eastern. Okay. We're going to make time to make sure that we give people a little taste about that Monster Connect connection.
Roll up our sleeves here and take some calls here.
Now I want to know. I'm curious because you provide a tool that's benefiting so many organizations, so many sales professionals. What are some other tools or resources or software that kind of gets you excited? I know you had mentioned something around recording calls. What's hot? If I'm out there and I'm looking for tools, resources that can assist my team, in addition to Monster Connect, what else should I be looking at?
Yeah, I think that tools like a Sales Loft or Outreach, even like an Apollo is coming into the market a little bit more too now. But I think those tools to where they really help automate that entire process of prospecting makes a big difference. So, for example, if a client were using Outreach, they can automate their sequences to be able to, have a, say, 10-step sequence of emails and phone calls. And so sales rep can't get much easier, right? They log in, they press a button, it's going to send out those emails for whatever, step that they're in. Phone calls can use Monster Connect or, Outreach, whatever to call on. And then it just naturally moves them on to that next step automatically. So I think those tools are super beneficial because it's just no thinking really. You set up your sequences, you set up your steps, and then you kind of like a crock pot, right? You set and forget it in a way, and you being able to just manage your steps and being able to automate it.
Man, you must not know. You must be a chef because you've been mentioning crock pot. You got me hungry over here, Brian. Send me a sandwich.
Yeah,
when
right.
we get done, I'm going straight to the kitchen. I have not had lunch yet, but I love that. Now, I'm going to double up right now.
Okay.
What's the one, we'll call it the golden piece of advice that you would offer someone who's new? Let's say I just graduated from college. This is my first real sales position, and now I'm expected to pick up the phone and call. I know it's tough, but what's that one golden piece of advice you would give me?
Yeah, I think I would say to maximize your potential in your current situation. I think that makes a world of a difference because I think a lot of times we want tomorrow's success without sacrificing, today, what we have, like today's sacrifice, right? And so use what you have today to build for tomorrow. And so I think that's a big thing is being able to use everything that you got, going back to doing what you can control and just being able to be the best person, the best job role that you can do initially. And then you continue to do what you can control. You continue to just maximize your potential in your daily efforts. Then the growth will come, the accounts will come, everything will come if you continue to put in the effort, put in the drive, put in the work, and the results will naturally come.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Making sure that we avoid wanting tomorrow's success without paying today's sacrifice. That's spot on. Now, we know that this is tough. Any advice for someone who's going through a rough patch? I've been dedicated. I've been sacrificing. I've been giving in the effort, working hard, driving, doing all those things, controlling the controllables, just like what Brian told me. But whoa, I'm going through some turbulence. I'm going through some choppy waters. I'm starving over here. I want some of that crock pot food, and whoa, it's still stewing. What advice can you give me when I'm up against the wall?
Yeah. So rock climber, right? They need, if they were to climb a rock in a mountain, they can't get to the top by a smooth surface. It's going to have those ridges to where they got to grab onto, and those tough areas to where that's going to get them to the top. So I think the biggest thing is to look at never forget your end goal, right? And so I would even say an example too is that, I like to compare growing seeds on concrete. Because if you walk on a sidewalk, you see sometimes there's a little weed or a little grass in the concrete in the sidewalk, but there's no soil there, right? But what happened was at one time, that little seed, it got kicked around, it got moved, it got winded, everything was just kicked on. It finally found its spot in that soil, and then it grew. And so when it got to that spot to grow, if it didn't get kicked on, if it didn't get pushed around, if it get winded, rained on, everything, it eventually got there. And so I think that the biggest thing is to, hey, never forget about where you're going, and let that be your drive. I think that it's important to, write things down. I got stuff that I look at, my goals I look at daily, and I look at them, I say them, I speak them. And I think that there's a power in what you look at, what you say to yourself, what you fill your mind with. And so I think that that's just focusing on the future and never letting go of that. I think that that's the biggest thing I would say.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, Brian, before we start heating it up and making some calls, I want to know, the people want to know, where can they connect with you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, best place I think is LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, so LinkedIn. You can chat me there, message me there, connect with me there, and I'd love to jump on a call. Regarding Monster Connect, not Monster Connect, whichever, we can connect.
I love it. I love it. So, Brian, we're ready to go. We want to make some calls. How do we fire it up? Do tell. What's that process look like to wake up the monster? I think. Hold on.
That was easy.
I know it's easy. Talk to me.
Let's see. I got Monster Connect pulled up right here. I got a list. I can let me log in here. I know we can't. I'm gonna have to use this old school phone since we're on here, but I will take some calls, and then you won't obviously be able to hear the prospect, but I'll be able to take some calls, and let's see if we can get some feedback here. So let me see here.
I love it. Firing it up. Oh goodness. Oh, this is the first time that we've had a guest that's hopping on the phone, making these calls, having these conversations. And I know it's going to be one way. We're only going to be able to hear the one side of it. But I think Brian is he's firing up the machine. The man, the woman, the myth, the machine, the legend, Monster Connect.
All right, let's get it here. So I got it here. I'll have it on speaker here initially, and then I'll connect over and I'll go into my pitch here. All right, so I'm gonna hit go. So right now I have. So we got about 7-8 people being dialed on. So we got a CEO, a president, VP of sales, president, head of pre-sales. So a couple prospects here. We got some dials going out.
Okay.
So usually on average, I would say every couple minutes you get connected to a new prospect here. So here what I'll hear is a little beep. The prospect won't hear a beep. And then up on my computer screen instantaneously, I'm going to see who I'm talking to. And then I'm going to go into my pitch as if I had placed that call here.
Wow. Now, Brian, do you use the pre-recorded intro message?
Sometimes I do. Yeah. For the purpose of today, I'll just go into it and talk initially. But yeah, we have that pre-recorded intro to where we can be able to alleviate that pressure to start talking right away, because it's quick, right? All of a sudden you're used to drinking from a water fountain. Now you're drinking from a fire hose. So that helps alleviate that.
I love it. I love it. This is behind the scenes action, y'all. We're getting a behind the scenes look at Monster Connect in the wild.
I wish y'all could see the screen here, so I could see what's happening, because it's cool. It's coming, leads are coming on and off the screen here, and I see who's being worked on. I can see the name of their company. I can say the name of the lead, their title, as they're being worked on, and then here momentarily we'll get connected, and then I'll go into my pitch as if I'd placed that call there, and they won't know that I had an agent dialing for me at that point.
Wow. And I love the mixture of technology and human resource, human capital, getting you connected.
Mm-hmm.
The suspense is killing me.
Oh, me too. I'm waiting for it.
It's all good. The anticipation. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's kind of like having your own personal call assistant that's making those connections on your behalf.
It is. Yeah. It's going back to what we're saying. Hey, you're buying that time back, right? You're buying that time back so that you can only spend, like, hey, even if I was not on this podcast right now, I could be doing emails, or I could be doing something while someone else is dialing for me. And then once that actual prospect picks up, boom, that's when I can go into my pitch there.
It's time to make the donuts. It's time to go to work. Once that prospect picks up, it's go time. Here in North Carolina, we call it bow time, but I love that. Oh.
Everyone must be on lunch here. They're all. I need some of those phone pickup lists that we were talking about earlier.
They knew that we were coming. They said, "Hey, we're gonna bob and weave. We're gonna throw the old okie doke, stick and move."
Can imagine it would be like without Monster Connect. I'd be here till dinner time. Yeah.
Now I love 8 to 12. We're seeing 8 to 12 conversations in an hour. That's powerful.
And sometimes I get boom, 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 right? So I mean, it's all about timing, which we were saying before. To where, they're going to be picking up at the volume's going to increase the timing, obviously, and sometimes it takes a couple minutes, sometimes it takes 30 seconds. It just kind of depends on where all those prospects are at.
Now, are you collecting stats as well to help folks understand their best call time, when the best time is for them to be making calls?
We are, yeah. So a lot of those analytics, and you can segment it by your list, by the status, whichever. But you can start seeing certain days or times of the week that have a higher connect rate, higher appointment rate, higher conversion rate. You're able to start seeing all those different statistics and get pretty granular with the report, so that you can spend your time, on any trends that you might start seeing as you're calling on the platform.
Wow, that's powerful. Data. It's all about the data. Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. That's right. You're on Central Time, so it is lunchtime for you. For me, it's late lunchtime, and my stomach is saying, "Let the monster out."
It's almost dinner time for you there. Now, whenever I go into my pitch, what I like to do is I like to, just keep it pretty. I know there's all those different methods and different, ways to, 47 seconds, whichever, you can start saying. But I think at the end of the day, it's what's authentic to you. It's what's authentic to the actual rep, because you can read all these different methods, and I think they're all valid. I think they work for a lot of folks, but at all end of the day, it's what works for you. And so I think that, you can go into your pitch and be able to see whatever intro works for you, whatever pitch, method. What I like to do is just, say, hey, Brian over at Monster Connect. I like to say, hey, how have you been? That's what I like to do. And then, I typically just ask it, hey, I know I caught you out of blue. Do you have a quick minute? I can tell you why I called. And then if they say, sure, then I'll go into Monster Connect's pitch a little bit and be able to, explain what we do and see if there might be an ability to take a call there.
Wow. I love that breakdown and your style, because there's so many different styles.
Yeah.
And I love you referencing that, finding the style that works best for you. I know that John Barrows follows the style of why you now. I
Yeah.
know that there's other people that say, oh, you don't want to ask them how are they doing. That's precious time. But what we're seeing is that there's more than one way to have success and find your path in cold calling. So for those listening in, realize there's not just one way to have success. You've got to find your way that's going to work best for you. And that takes some exploration. It takes some taste testing, in the words of Brian with the crock pot. It takes some innovation, exploration, and ability and openness to trying new things. Love it.
Yeah. Nothing like live cold calling.
Hey, you never know. It's like life being a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna.
Hey, Brian over at Monster Connect. How you been? Monster Connect. Yeah, well, what we do is we have a tool that allows sales reps to have around 8 to 10 conversations with actual prospects without doing. Yeah, yep, no problem. Appreciate you. All right, caught him in lunch there. But same thing. Yep, he was eating, but got connected instantaneously. I know who I was talking to, right? I'd kind of skip. I think that's a big thing about sales too, and prospecting is adapting, right? I had my script going in where I was going to go say, you could tell that he was straight to the point, and I couldn't get to what I wanted to. So I think sales is about adapting. And so you might have those folks that you can have those long conversations with, talk about, sports, the weather, whichever. Other folks, they just want to get straight to the point. And I think that's in sales and prospecting. And so that guy right there, I didn't catch him at a good time. And so there wasn't matter. I could have had a briefcase of $1 million and he would have said, I'm not interested at that point. So.
Wow, Brian, it sounds like you're a chameleon and you're adapting to what they throw at you, kind of like tennis. Whatever shot gets volleyed over to you, you got to adapt, you got to adjust, and you got to be able to roll with the punches. And it's so fitting. I got to say, today's theme has really been around food. Woo! He was eating out of the crock pot and said, hey, this is not a good time. But having that actual connection is amazing. Hey, Brian, as we wrap up, because we're at our time, what's the one thing you want our viewers, our listeners to walk away with?
I think the biggest thing is do what you can control. I know we talked a lot about that throughout the session, and I think being consistent. I think if you can, I think as a human being and as your work ethic, just be consistent. I think that's one thing that I strive for people to know about me is, hey, I'm consistent. I said it earlier, on and off the court. So what no matter where I'm at, it's going to be I'm going to be consistent in who I am, and I think that just being a good human being translates into sales. And so having those principles, having that consistency, and having the ability to do what you can control, I think that makes a world of a difference. Because the moment you start trying to control things or do things that are outside of your control, you can't control the situation, right? You can just control you. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I'd leave with is focus on what you can control and stay consistent.
Wow, I love it. Brian, you didn't have to do them like that. For those that can't see, I got the platinum mic And this is for Brian, his family, his daughters. He dropped the platinum mic with that advice of controlling the controllables, being consistent, and just being a good human being based on foundational principles. Brian, I speak for all of us by saying thank you for sharing so many amazing insights, for giving us a peek behind the curtain of how Monster Connect rolls and gets us connected for those 8 to 10 live conversations in an hour. We are so appreciative. We are so fortunate for you to drop those gems on us. For all of our listeners, I want to remind you, please join us next Wednesday, October the 18th, same bat place, same bat time. We're going to see you at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific for our next guest. And hey, we've got a surprise. I wish I could tell you, but they told me, Larry, don't tell them. Don't let the cat out of the bag for this surprise. So we will see you next Wednesday. We wish you happy selling, plenty of connected calls, and let us know at Monster Connect how we can help support you to be awesome. Thank you so much. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye for now.
Thanks, Larry. See you.
Oh, too funny.